with a horrible, horrible war currently being waged in Israel, I think it's up to us to think about what's going on. I'm certainly on the side of the protesters who are anti-Netanyahu, but there are other thoughtful Americans who think Netanyahu's doing the right thing. There's a huge diversity of opinion and ideas about this particular issue. I want to point out why there's such a diversity of ideas and why humanists are on both sides of this fight. Both sides. Humanist, what it means to be humanist, it's not a monolithic group of people. They're certainly not anybody who's the thought Nazi when it comes to humanism. So as humanists, I think we have to examine our conscience. Take a look at the 10 commitments. If you take a look at them, you will not find anywhere in those 10 commitments the commitment to nonviolence. You don't have to be a conscientious objector to be a humanist. Nonviolence is it's a good thing to say. It's not always very practical. Mahatma Gandhi, good example, completely nonviolent man, but without the violent factions that were raising their ugly heads in India, Mahatma Gandhi would have been a forgotten nobody. The violent people who were fighting violently against British rule, those people were just as important to that movement as the nonviolent ones. The nonviolent ones were very important. Don't get me wrong. I would always be on the side of nonviolence. Martin Luther King, nonviolent, but there was also Malcolm X. There were also the ones that were willing to burn it down, so to speak. Without those violent protesters, I doubt that there would have been enough impetus to get Martin Luther what he wanted. And of course, it's easy to side with Martin. It's easy to see. During those challenging times, it was not nearly as easy to see. Just like now with Israel. It's very difficult to understand, but there are two sides to this story. Netanyahu, in my opinion, is a terrible leader because he was the one that set up the whole situation so that violence was going to happen. It had to happen. He was encouraging settlers to go into territories that don't belong to Israel and to settle, stealing people's land. And he was creating an apartheid, a separate police state in Gaza. These violent acts do not happen just because there are evil terrorists. You could honestly say that there are terrorists on both sides of this issue. And in the United States, you could say that we're supporting a terrorist state. There are opinions about that. Right now, the media are I would say the professional media are pretty one-sided on this. I would say for every one story that you get about Israeli problem, the Israeli side, there's probably 10 of those for every one story about a Palestinian, a loss with the Palestinians. It's very one-sided coverage. I remember that when I was in the press, I worked in 4 different TV stations here in Nashville alone, and worked at NBC in New York. And I remember that there was always a mantra. Always, reporters said this: if it bleeds, it leads. If you're in an important movement, violence usually becomes a part of it. Isn't that sad that we as human beings can't seem to change important things without violence? But I think it's impractical to try to solve anything without violence. Fortunately, it's very rare that we need violence to solve something. But when we get passionate people on both sides of an issue, I think violence is inevitable. Not to say it's okay. I'm not trying to say violence is okay. I'm just trying to say, as a practical point of view, that violent people line up on one side and nonviolent people often line up on another side, and there's often violent people on both sides of an issue. So as a humanist, I don't think we should be wagging our fingers at people and saying, oh, shame on you for being on that side of the issue. Humanists shouldn't have a commitment to being always right. I don't think that should be part of our, we shouldn't desire to be always right. I think what we should desire is freedom of thought. Because where there's freedom of thought, then we can argue. It's okay to argue. Argue back and forth. Argue your point. There's no such thing as a lawyer who doesn't know how to argue. You should argue, and argue passionately. I argue passionately with my friends. That doesn't mean they're not my friends. They don't hold grudges against me because I argue passionately. Arguing passionately is a good thing. I know people are going to not like what I had to say there about violence, but you have to remember the way the media thinks. If it bleeds, it leads. So, terribly enough, that's often what gives impetus to the news. Violence.